Everything in life worth having is going to probably take 5 to 10 times more time and more work than you think it should. That's just a simple fact. Why'd you laugh?
Just because I think about us sometimes.
Yeah.
That's something that we commonly look at. And we did a podcast about something like 30 things we wish that we would have realized
That's number
before
one.
30. And that was on it, was things will take longer, even with your best efforts, except the fact that it's going to take longer than we would all like.
And the problem is, really, nowadays, especially societally, people believe that it's like everyone's a millionaire by the time they're in their 20s. And success is so easy to find. And guys, it's just a big perpetuated lie at the end of the day. I was just on a podcast, just literally right before this podcast, with Ricky Carruth. And I coached him for a little while back in 2015. Okay. He told me, I don't remember. I mean, I remember coaching. I didn't remember the year.
Sure.
And he told me that was one of the most valuable things that I taught him, which I appreciated that he remembered. Well, sure. I've told everyone that forever, right? But the very fact that he remembered that, he said it's made a momentous difference in his business and personal life, because he's realized that's true, and he's also seen along the way how other people aren't patient enough, and they're constantly looking for shortcuts. And actually, I wrote something down that I was going to share with all the podcast listeners today that came from that conversation I had with Ricky. Shortcuts exist to distract you from the correct path.
There you go.
That is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is the truth. If you guys think about that, the shortcuts and the easy buttons, you could even go as far as to say, the shortcuts and the easy buttons are almost traps that keep you from the correct path. Follow this path. Yeah, follow this path. It's so much easier. You don't have to work as hard. But what they suck the life out of you. You lose weeks, months. You lose years. You can lose your entire life because you never actually realize that the easy buttons and shortcuts that people like to celebrate. There's books, there's seminars, there's coaches, there's gurus, and, they're all trying to teach you hacks and shortcuts. It's all bullshit, guys. You've got to realize it for what it is. Everything you want in life, anything meaningful, worth having in life, comes on the other side of doing what you don't want to do, Julie Harris.
When you don't want to do it at the highest level. That does not mean that you are dabbling at it now and then. See previous points, like, follow the schedule, for example. All right. Number 10, where are you getting help? And this one drives me a little bit bonkers because I just see so much, agents searching out with each other. And
your problem is you go to Facebook groups and you never post, but you read what agents are basically, and you drive yourself crazy. You need to stop doing that. Well,
I go there to see like what they're dealing with overall. Sometimes I see like little hacks to getting around.
You just said hacks.
Well, that's true. I guess what I'm looking for is the mindset and the ethos of what they're dealing with, which was one of the catalysts to last week's podcast about ending the buyer agent torture.
Right.
And getting them to realize that you've got to be a listing agent now instead of continuing to run in that rat race, for example. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, like, out there what they're dealing with. But in between, and I say 90% of it really is garbage.
You're wanting to essentially tap into the zeitgeist. It's the same reason I listen to Clubhouses.
And podcasts and everything else.
Well, it's ways for us to keep our thumb on the pulse of the industry beyond just our coaching clients.
Sure.
Because people that become our coaching clients, they are on a path that's distinctly different from what you see on Facebook.
Yes,
right?
Very clearly.
Yeah,
and I know that because sometimes our clients will post and they'll be like, well, it's because of you're not doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. I mean, they have the answer. But by and large, there's too many agents seeking out advice from people who are unqualified to give it.
So when you go to those Facebook groups and you go to Clubhouse, frankly, it's basically you're faced with the real levels of learning thing, right?
Yes.
And the first level of learning, and again, as we always do, we're taking a sidestep, but this is really important you guys recognize where you are in this learning spectrum. Stages of mastery, call it what you want. But the first one is unconscious incompetence. And unconscious incompetence is basically where you don't know what you don't know. And people can stay in a state of unconscious incompetence their entire lives, and frankly, most people do. So when you're on Facebook, and to Julie's point number, whatever it is, 10, right? Yep. If you're going to those groups and you don't know what you don't know, and you're then asking other people who don't know what they don't know, you're going to get more of a bunch of garbage, and you're never going to get anywhere. And then the stage beyond that is where people will hire Julie and I and our company to be coaches for them. And that's where they're consciously incompetent, where they basically realize there's a whole bunch of crap they don't want.